Good evening and welcome. You're watching Left, Right and Centre with me, Sanket Upadhyay. One big story that we are going to track over the next 60 minutes is number one, the opposition last week coming up with a new alliance name called INDIA, India. They say, Judega Bharat, Jeetega India. And for the past 1 week, we did see some sort of an attack from the BJP, but the strongest attack on this alliance called India has now come today by the Prime Minister, no less. In a meeting where he was addressing Bharatiya Janata Party members and MPs, the Prime Minister said, it makes no difference if you attach India to your name. After all, there was an East India Company as well. After all, there was an Indian Mujahideen as well. Does it make them Indian? Now, this is a very strong analogy. A very powerful comparison that has been made, loaded with political meaning. Obviously, there was a response from the Congress party, but all of this could be seen unfolding in the upcoming Parliament session. You see, this was a big political Tuesday. There is a confrontation, eyeball to eyeball confrontation between the opposition and the government on the issue of Manipur. And amid this Parliament logjam comes the Prime Minister's blistering attack at the opposition. Obviously, meanings are being read into this. Let's listen in to what Union Minister Pralahad Joshi had to say.
Desperate or directionless, बिना दिशा और हताश विपक्ष के कारण तो हमको और सतर्क रहना है, ये भी माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी ने कहा।
विपक्ष कह रहा है कि ये प्रधानमंत्री को शोभा नहीं देता है इस तरह की भाषा इस्तेमाल करना।
इंडिया को लेकर जो
प्रधानमंत्री ने क्या कहा फिर इंडिया
कहा था इंडिया
तो इंडिया के लेके उन्होंने जो कहा है उसमें तो इन लोगों ने अभी इंडिया उनको याद आ, प्रधानमंत्री ने जो कहा है उसमें यही है कि तो उन्होंने ईस्ट इंडिया और कई इसमें कहा है, बाद में डिटेल आपको दिया जाएगा।
So that was, of course, the government trying to present its side of the story on what the Prime Minister said. There's a very, very strong retort that came in from the Congress President, Mr. Mallikarjun Kharge, and of course, many members in the opposition who had conceived this idea of INDIA, that is India, their alliance. Let's quickly listen in to what Mr. Mallikarjun Kharge had to say.
50 लोग सतत इस 267 पे डिस्कशन करने के लिए तैयार और वो 176 पे डिस्कशन करने के लिए वो तैयार है। तो जब इतने लोग 267 पे बात करने के लिए थे, आप जब वो उस पे जो बात करना चाहते हैं 2.5 आवर्स का, क्यों आप इस पे बात करने के लिए तैयार नहीं है? क्यों मोदी साहब यहाँ नहीं आते और बात नहीं करते? क्यों अपनी बात को नहीं रखते यहाँ पर? क्यों हमको समझाते नहीं है? नहीं, वहाँ जो घटना घटी उसको बोलना चाहिए। बाहर तो बोलते हैं ईस्ट इंडिया कंपनी के बारे में, अरे मणिपुर के बारे में बात करो ना।
So clear direct attack from the Congress also, that they're accusing the Prime Minister of basically bringing up India, and a very sharp observation on India, the alliance, comparing it or in an analogy, comparing it to the East India Company or the Indian Mujahideen, the terrorist organization Indian Mujahideen. The Congress says that this is clearly a diversionary tactic because they don't want to talk about Manipur. Now, a week after India, this opposition alliance of the opposition, the BJP, it seems, has upped its game. What has happened so far, you see a lot of comments that were made by the Bharatiya Janata Party. For instance, the BJP, ever since this alliance came into effect last week, you had the Assam Chief Minister updating his Twitter bio, changing the India to Bharat, right? Basically saying that we are Bharat, you are India. Then Dharmendra Pradhan, a union minister, he said that this is old wine in a new bottle. Amit Malviya, who's the BJP IT cell chief, he says same players are regrouping under a different name. It won't make them any more credible. So what was happening so far from the Bharatiya Janata Party is that certain comments were made, certain utterances were being made, but none of these utterances and comments were as direct as that of the Prime Minister today. So what really explains the BJP's big pivot on India, the alliance? Now the Congress also has, as you know, upped the game. You just heard Mallikarjun Kharge, but many Congress MPs and Congress leaders are now equating this with Rahul Gandhi. For instance, many of the congressmen feel that if you accuse Rahul Gandhi of insulting, and that is the Mumbai Congress, maybe we can go full frame. Mumbai Congress in this tweet said, ideally Prime Minister Modi should get punished for commenting so low on India, shameful. And then of course there is an image which shows that when Rahul Gandhi commented on Modi, it was seen as an assault on all the Modi surname, people who have the Modi surname. Then the Prime Minister's comment, why should that not be read as an insult of India? The bottom line is, battle lines are drawn. It's a battle of narratives ahead of 2024. So the big question is going to be, BJP versus opposition, whose idea of India will win in 2024? And what is the meaning behind, or how should you read the Prime Minister's strongest attack on India, the alliance, by the Prime Minister, as I said, no less. Let's introduce our guest this evening, Dr. Syed Zafar Islam, former BJP MP of the Rajya Sabha and national spokesperson of the BJP. We have Supriya Shinate, spokesperson of the Congress Party, Tushar Gupta, senior editor of Swaraj, Neerja Chaudhary is a senior journalist, Rashid Kidwai, senior journalist and author, Rajat Sethi, advisor to Manipur CM, economist, political analyst. We also have Professor Geeta Bhatt, political analyst, and KV Prasad, senior journalist. Maximum panel right here. Let's straight away head into the political discussion first before we get into the analysis. So, Dr. Syed Zafar Islam and Supriya Shinate on the screen first. Zafar Islam, do you feel that you will now have to answer to the Congress when they say that this is a diversionary tactic? The opposition wants you to comment on Manipur, for the Prime Minister to speak up on Manipur, whereas the Prime Minister chooses to speak on India, the alliance, and equate it to East India Company and a terror outfit called Indian Mujahideen. What is the meaning behind this comparison?
Let me respond to that. First of all, if you have heard the Honorable Prime Minister, what did he say? He said when British company, East India, he named East India, British East India Company because they needed to mislead the people of this great country. When AO Humes, that time they had to form a political party and mislead the nation, people of this country. That time they named Indian National Congress. Both of them had one purpose, to mislead the nation. Then there's another group who wants to break the country, and that is the analogy he's made. The Indian Mujahideen, a Popular Front of India, their only objective is to break the country. So these people have taken undue advantage of the name India to mislead the nation, and that is what exactly what East India Company has done, what Mr. A.O. Humes had done years ago to mislead the nation. That is what they are attempting to do that. But things have changed. That time, people were not aware. The awareness was not there. Today, they have understood that there's a government which understands what is expected of people, understand what is expected of them, and we have delivered in last 9 years. So we have made the common man on the street a powerful man. We have empowered them. We have understand. We have their concern. We have delivered them. So they are with us. We have won their confidence. We have won their trust, and that's why we are confident of our victory. We do not, but what the Honorable Prime Minister said, that they want to just mislead the nation, and they think by misleading the nation, they want to win the election. It is impossible because people have now understood that these political parties, as you rightly said, what Dharmendra Pradhan has said, it's old wine in new bottles. So these are the same people who have.
Okay, Dr. Islam, you made your opening comment. You explained the perspective in which this comment was made. But the point is, a very strong comment has been made on India, the name. It almost appears, Supriya Shinate, that the Congress and this coalition of various like-minded parties trying to come together, 26 odd, are being likened to the East India Company and a terrorist outfit called Indian Mujahideen.
So thank you for having me on the show, and it's a great evening to be here. To all my fellow panelists, a very good evening too. I have only one thing to say. The statement from somebody who occupies the chair of India's Prime Minister, Narendra Modi, is a testament to the fact that he's absolutely rattled, he's scared, and he's baffled by the India alliance. Because he knows jolly well that when you pit somebody against India, India always wins. It is absolutely brazen, shameless, and may I also say desperate and anti-national. You may say 10 things to the opposition, but to liken India to East India Company, to liken India to Indian Mujahideen is the worst that Mr. Modi, by his own standards, could stoop to. The reality is that today India's Prime Minister is not just bad-mouthing the opposition, he's standing steadfastly against India itself. I also want to ask a question here. And before I go any further, Skill India, Startup India, Make India, Digital India, New India, BJP for India, are all these agents of Indian Mujahideen? I think that's a question that the Prime Minister should answer. The Prime Minister should also know one thing, and this is my closing argument. The Prime Minister should know that India stands with Manipur. You may not break your silence for almost 3 months after violence erupted, but India stands with Manipur. We will ensure there is going to be peace and harmony there. We will ensure tear is wiped off every face of every mother and every child in Manipur. The reality is that India's Prime Minister, under his watch, Manipur has been burning for almost 3 months now, did not utter the word Manipur for 78 days. And when he did, he spoke on it for 36 seconds and then started finding equivalence of Manipur. I hate to say this, but today I have to admit that the direction to the troll army, their script, their toolkit does not come from the fake news factory of the BJP. It comes straight from India's Prime Minister.
Okay.
But he should seek an apology to this country for likening our India, for likening our nation, our motherland to something as bad and brazen.
Okay,
as
Syed Zafar Islam, do you feel that this is exactly what would have constituted as a war of narratives? With an alliance name like India, the moment you say anything, the moment you attack or question, and the Prime Minister chose this pivot himself. I mean, so far we didn't see the BJP go this far, but now the Prime Minister has taken this. How does one explain? See, it's extremely predictable for the alliance partners in the opposition to come and question you along these lines.
Let me explain to you. No. See, as I said earlier, things have changed. People are no more, you can mislead. In the past, you must have misled them. You have been successful in misleading them. I understand. But same kind of a trick will not work. This is a stunt. This is a gimmick. It will backfire on them. Because people understand that they have been hated by the people. They have been people discredited them, what they have done with the people. They are being not liked by people. They are not being supported. They have zero confidence in them, in these opposition parties. So they have thought through that what is the best way to give a name which may be acceptable, but they have not understood that by merely giving a name, you cannot mislead the nation. People do understand that you are absolutely desperate for power. You are desperate to occupy the seat. You are out of power. That's why you are trying to this kind of a desperate stunt.
Yes, Supriya
Can I
Shine,
please come in?
Yeah.
I have a very simple thing to say to my friend from the BJP and also convey a message to the Prime Minister. The same Prime Minister who was chest thumping and saying ek akela not till a month back now needs 38 allies. Do aur jod dijiye, 40 chor aapke paas aa jayenge. Those allies include 9 parties from the northeast. None of them have spoken on Manipur. This includes Gopal Kanda, who has let go of a, abetment to suicide about a woman. The reality today is that the Prime Minister stayed silent on Manipur for 78 days. The Home Minister failed to even read the tea leaves. He did not even know of the horrifying video that came despite being there for 4 days. The Chief Minister of Manipur says this is not an isolated incident. There are hundreds of other incidents that have happened like this. With what moral authority does he continue to be in office? Smriti Irani doesn't utter a word. NCW sits on a complaint for 38 days. Look at what is happening to your own MLA saying it is state-sponsored violence. Your own MP, the governor that you have appointed, is saying things are absolutely out of control. They are tragic. I have told the higher-ups. Can Zafar only explain to me just one thing? You have stitched together, cobbled together 38 parties. 24 of them have 0 MPs. But just answer one question. Why did the Prime Minister not utter the word Manipur for 78 days? And when he does, why did he only speak for 36 seconds? What is he scared about? The Parliament is in session. Tell him to gather courage. Tell him to have the guts.
Let me respond.
Make a statement. No, 1 second. Make a statement. Let's have a discussion on Manipur.
Okay, let's get a
unitedly
response.
tell a part of India.
Okay, I think 2 points that Supriya Shinaid seems to be making here.
Let us tell Manipur India stands with them.
Okay.
Are you against India or are you for India?
Okay,
Because the Prime
Dr. Syed
Minister
Zafar
through his
Islam, I
statement
think
has
one thing
shown
is very
he's
clear from what Supriya
anti-national,
Shinaid is saying.
He's anti-Indian.
Okay, I think it's very, very evident from what Supriya Shinaid is saying, from various leaders of the opposition are saying, that this direct attack on India, the alliance, and likening them to a terrorist organization, at least saying that having India in your name
nobody more
means
scared
nothing.
than Narendra Modi in India
No.
today.
One more. Having India in your
that
name
man.
means nothing. That's the sense of what he said. The point is, the opposition collectively is now saying, number one, this is insult to India, and number two, this is a diversionary tactic, so that there is no conversation on Manipur. Okay, we'll try going back to Mr. Zafar Islam in just a short. Yeah, can you hear me?
Either they have misunderstood it completely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yes, please carry on.
Can I respond?
Yes.
This program that either they have not understood or they are thinking that people are fools who will not understand. All this stunt saying that India is the name because the Prime Minister, Honorable Prime Minister has said in certain context, and context is not
I can't hear him.
mix India, which is being Indian, use the name India for their either misleading the people or to break the country. So on those occasions, he said that those people have also used India as a name. But opposition parties here is trying to mislead the nation to occupy the power.
The point that Supriya has made, Dr. Zafar Islam,
let me just complete.
The point is on deflecting attention from Manipur. That's the allegation. That you would like to talk about India, the context in which opposition is using India.
Let me just complete.
Yeah.
Let me just complete. So we do not want to deviate, deflect, or we are not desperate. We want to discuss issues which they want to discuss. Opposition has to be responsible. Whatever has been discussed, and there was a meeting of minds in terms of what needs to be discussed on the floor of the Parliament. Yeah. We want to discuss. Honorable Home Minister did mention on the floor of the Parliament that we want to discuss Northeast. We want to discuss Manipur. Whatever you want to discuss, come, let's have a discussion. Let's have a constructive discussion, because at the end of the day, it is the floor of the Parliament where every political party have only one
Yes, one moment. Let him complete, Supriya.
Why are you not coming for the discussion? Why are you not coming for the discussion? Why are you disrupting the Parliament? Why you do not want to discuss the issue? Because you just want to tell the world, tell the country that we want to discuss this issue and the
okay, fine. I get your point.
The fact is,
they are
disrupting the Parliament. They do not want to discuss the issue.
The points that have been made by Zafar Islam are the following. He says, okay, I got what you said. The line is a little patchy, but we understood what you are saying. Just to explain this in greater detail to our viewers, Supriya Shinaid, Syed Zafar Islam says that what the Prime Minister said was in a context that many people in the past have also tried to use the name India and it has not amounted to much. This is a name which they use to cover up on what they are doing, like the East India Company and the Indian Mujahideen, number one. Number two, Zafar Islam says that it's the opposition which is shying away from a discussion in Parliament. That there is a lot of hangama and you don't want that discussion, whereas the government is more than forthcoming.
I want to say one more thing, last thing, which if you can hear me, I want to say
quiet,
one more thing, and then Supriya can respond. Last thing, because maybe you are not able to hear me.
Quickly, sir.
I wanted to make one more point that similarly, after 25th June 1975, the darkest day of democracy, that day, he wanted to, Indira Gandhi wanted to, party wanted to somehow hide this 25th June of 1925. So they gave a slogan, India is Indira, Indira is India. What is the result into 1977? They had to test the dust because people of India have understood their true intent and accordingly she had to be defeated by the people of India. Accordingly, the opposition party is doing this.
Supriya, let me get a response, Zafar Islam. So, the coinage of the word India, according to Zafar Islam, has happened in the past also and has not worked in the favor of the Congress party. That's the point that is being made. Supriya Shinet's response quickly.
So, if it has not worked in the favor of the Congress party, what is the BJP upset about? Why are they worried? Why are they scared? Why are they running helter-skelter? What is the Prime Minister rattled and baffled about? I don't think that's true. The reality is, when you pit India against someone, India always wins. They jolly well know that. This is an alliance where people have come together to save the constitution and this country. But I want to make 3 points that were asked of me. The first point was, out of context. Oh, really? Was the Prime Minister quoted out of context? He said this, 2 of your ministers came and briefed the media. That is where it was picked from. It is absolutely brazen and shameless for the Prime Minister of India to equate India, the name, with anything that is negative. इंडिया के बारे में नकारात्मक बोलने वाले व्यक्ति को इस देश का प्रधानमंत्री बने रहने का कोई भी हक नहीं है. That's the first thing I would want to say. And in your tone, go to Pakistan. That is what I will say. Don't you dare equate India with anything negative. This country deserves better. The second point that you made, Parliament discussion, extremely important point. I'm glad it has come up. What does the BJP want and what is it shying from? The BJP wants the discussion to happen under Rule 176, which permits a maximum discussion of 2.5 hours. For the maximum time, the government will speak, some sporadic voices from the opposition. A state of India that has been burning and facing violence and huge travesty of women for the last 3 months. Does our parliament only have time for 2.5 hours? And which is why we are saying, let the discussion happen under Rule 267, which allows all business to be suspended, which allows a long discussion. Everybody should have a voice, including the treasury benches. Let the Prime Minister, the leader of the House, make a statement. Let there be a detailed discussion. Let's tell Manipur unitedly in one voice that we stand for them. Why is BJP shying and running away from that statement? And the last point I want to make, please indulge me. The last point I want to make is about Amit Shah. Why Amit Shah? Are you the leader of the House? Are you the Prime Minister of this country? Did this country vote to your face? And the most important point is, you are a failed Home Minister because you did not even know about the existence of that video and hundreds of incidents like that. Despite being in Manipur for 4 days, you did not even know the fact that the all-party meeting that you called for failed. You have let Manipur simmer and tension reach Mizoram now. So you are the last person who can lead the discussion here. This country deserves to hear its Prime Minister.
Okay, so the point
An elected Prime Minister, he was not elected to hug Joe Biden. He was not elected to go hug Macron. He was elected to come face Parliament and take stock of the most burning issue of our times, and that is Manipur.
So a very heated Congress versus BJP discussion. Thank you very much to, Syed Zafar Islam, if you allow me, I have to take a short break at this moment. And then when we come back, we indulge with some senior editors as well as analysts also who give us perspective on what they feel. Taking a short break, be right back. Welcome back. Let me now introduce some top editors as well as analysts on what they think about this narrative war. The Prime Minister amping up the attack on India, the alliance, in a way likening them to East India Company and Indian Mujahideen, the terrorist outfit. This is a battle of narratives over the idea of India. What do experts feel? Tushar Gupta is the senior editor of Swaraj, Neerja Chaudhary, senior journalist, Rashid Kidwai, senior journalist and author, Rajat Sethi, political analyst, Geeta Bhatt, political analyst, and KV Prasad. Thank you very much for patiently waiting and listening to the politicians battle it out first. But one by one, Mr. Rashid Kidwai, in your opinion, who's winning this narrative battle? You heard both of them. You heard their perspectives, respective statements that they made. The Congress says that this is a diversionary tactic and they want to deflect attention from Manipur. What's your assessment?
Sanket, actually, I felt very bad. I felt sad, actually. I felt it was very unfortunate that we, when we are celebrating 75 years and more of India's independence, when we are a vibrant democracy, whole world looks at us as a shining example, we are getting into this kind of debate. I think the Prime Minister may have, whatever he may have meant, the reference of Indian Mujahideen is very unfortunate. That's what I can say. Simply because whether it's Indian National Congress or any other political party, everybody, is a bona fide Indian citizen. They have taken, oath under Indian Constitution. Congress, for instance, has fought 3 decisive wars against Pakistan, against China, and upheld, country's sovereignty, integrity, etc. You may, as the other BJP leaders have said, you can always say that this is, being packaged or old wine in new bottle, assembly of all those leaders trying to, grab power. That is fair enough. But when we just cross this kind of line, देखिए, नीति पे हमला करना बिल्कुल ठीक है, नियत पे हमला करना, that hurts. So I think the Prime Minister or the Treasury benches have enough time to make amends and clarify and settle it.
And Mr. Kidwai, do you feel that this is something which the BJP has all along accused the Congress of doing? Of directly commenting on the Prime Minister, questioning his niyat?
Sanket, since 2014, we have seen this, and on my fellow panelists like KV Prasad and Neerja, with whom we have done a lot of journalism, we have seen this. This was never before. Narasimha Rao, Atal Bihari Vajpayee, Rajiv Gandhi, Vishwanath Pratap, Chandrasekhar. We all had a lot of, we saw a lot of political differences inside Parliament, outside Parliament, but not this kind of language, not this kind of discourse. I mean, that's what I'm saying. I may be growing old, but I feel very sad, and this is a very unfortunate and uncalled for debate. It has no traction with the masses, with the common man, with the voter. That's why I'm saying it is sad.
Okay. Tushar Gupta, your assessment? You just heard Rashid Kidwai also, so, I mean...
Sanket, I have 3 points to make. The Prime Minister pointed out the similarity in names, not in ideologies, but the Congress spokesperson somehow seemed to have taken the bait and are now equating the similarity in name to the ideology. Of course, the Prime Minister was trying to imply that having India in your alliance name doesn't amount to guaranteed success, but it appears that the Congress spokespersons have fallen for the trap and taken it to a whole new level. Point number 2, I was listening to the Congress spokesperson a while back, and she went on a long rhetoric about the morality of the BJP. That part specifically interests me. But I have to ask the Congress here, what moral high ground do they have? This is not about whataboutery. I can understand their concern for Manipur. Rahul Gandhi was concerned about Manipur. He even made an attempt to go there, speak to the people. That's very admirable. But then on the same time, Rahul Gandhi is allying with Mamata Banerjee, who has been unleashing violence against certain voters in her state. He's been allying with Lalu Prasad Yadav and Nitish Kumar, who have driven their state to the ground in terms of law and order. He's allying with Arvind Kejriwal, and we all saw what happened in the Delhi riots of 2020. So as much as I understand Congress's concern about Manipur, what I can't decipher is why would they again ally with people who abuse the law and order in their own respective states? Point number 3. The Congress spokesperson also pointed out that the Prime Minister was not concerned about Manipur, that the Home Minister had no authority to speak in the Parliament because he's not the leader of the House or he's not the Prime Minister. Sanket, my simple point is that why is the opposition not pushing for a discussion? If their complaint is that the discussion has been limited to 2.5 hours, let the country see if the government is running away from a discussion. But at least start. Exactly a month ago from today, June 25th, all the parties were in an all-party meeting with the Home Minister, and they raised the concerns there. The former Chief Minister of Manipur, a Congress one, raised his concerns that the bridge between the two communities need to be repaired, that the two communities need to be brought together. So if they can come together in an all-party meeting, why can't they get together in the parliament, get some suggestions out, take Manipur as the focal point, not who's addressing the parliament or who should address the parliament.
Okay.
My simple problem is Congress is not taking it seriously, and perhaps that is why no one takes the Congress seriously.
Okay. Nirja Chaudhary, your assessment on each side pushing their narrative. Today, the Prime Minister pushed it one notch higher. How do you view this?
Look, I am very mystified by the Prime Minister's silence. I don't understand why. Because it would have been very simple for the Prime Minister to have spoken even 10 sentences in Parliament, reassured the people of Manipur, expressed his anguish at what had happened with the women. That's a horrifying, that's something we will take a long time to live down. And sent a message to the northeast of India that the rest of India cares about them. Very simple to have done that. So why has he not done it? That is the question. People say in their ranks, they don't want to be acting under pressure, giving into pressure of the opposition. But he's the leader, he's the mukhya of the country. So ye mujhe samajh mein nahi aata hai. Why the blistering attack? Now that also, normally the Prime Minister's words are measured, and as we've seen, he's used silence. As in the last 80 days. Why an attack? Of course, a debate with its cut and thrust in Parliament is normal. We are used to all sides, going for each other. But this kind of thing to compare to East India Company, Indian Mujahideen, meaning the opposition is a destructive force, a colonizing force, a terrorist force. ये भी मुझे हैरत होती है. Why has he? Is it because of they're trying to deflect from Manipur, which is what the Congress says? I don't know. Whether obviously the BJP side is more perturbed about INDA than possibly the IND is confident about winning the 2024 election. One last thing I will say, Sanket, if you'll allow me.
Yeah.
I also felt like the earlier panelists to say that India is INDA, an acronym. It cannot be equated with India, though that's the impression. It's a very catchy phrase. And it's an attempt to connect with people at the emotional level. But to say, how dare you attack India? You cannot say anything negative about India. That means India is equal to INDIA, and therefore you and I cannot attack India, the alliance. That is a position I find very, very odd and difficult to accept.
I think dealing with any form of Mr. KV Prasad absolutism is something which is being questioned here. That one idea or one phrase cannot be absolute in itself. Something which the Bharatiya Janata Party has also done. Look at the Karnataka elections where Bajrang Dal became Bajrang Bali, an assault on Bajrang Bali. And now here anything that you say about India in any context becomes an assault on India. But do you feel, Mr. KV Prasad, that this was a big gamble even for the Prime Minister to take? Knowing fully well that if he uses such harsh words and likens them to a terrorist organization no less, it will be met with a equal and opposite response.
Well, what I see is the point is when the acronym India was circulated, the first thing most commentators and people of political observers thought, now, what is it the BJP going to do? Is it going to attack India? Because per se, India's attack would become very difficult. So India, the acronym, is a political platform of opposition parties. So I think the whoever coined it as an acronym had a particular thought in mind. Just to take you aside, for instance, we are having a World Cup cricket matches coming up, or we have sporting tournaments having all over the time, and people shout India, India in the stadia, right? It's a sense of pride, it's a sense of backing up our country, our people are backing up. So this is I think what the BJP has got today, a message was, You cannot attack that idea of India, which is probably being projected by the platform of opposition parties, but try and equate something else as something alluded to by the Congress spokesperson and probably joined by another person. So I think that's where it is. But one catchword has probably become, it's like you unroll the dice. The dice has been unrolled, so we don't know how it's going to play out. But yet, this is an attack coming from the Prime Minister of India, which alludes or gives you an indication as to what they want people to think about this platform. That's the understanding that came out of that meeting, is what the general sense is around.
Right. Rashid Kidwai, just quickly coming back to you. You see, in this amazing war of narratives, while you do call it unfortunate that we are debating this, but see, again, this is a comment which has come from the Prime Minister. And that is why I say that this is a very strong pivot that the BJP has made. No attack from the BJP so far on the India coinage was so direct and so, what should I say? I mean, this is something that nobody in the BJP had said to bring Indian Mujahideen and East India Company. As Nirja Chaudhary said, that the idea perhaps could be to show this association as destructive. Do you feel that is the intention perhaps? And will that necessarily work on the ground?
Yes, Sanket, since 2014, you see, there's been opposition and Congress. There is an absolute trust deficit and there is no holds barred. The kind of allegations that both sides exchange is, that is what I'm saying, they are beyond, so to say, the democratic decency, propriety, etc. People of India in 2024 would be voting for the BJP, for the Congress, for the DMK, for TMC. Nobody would be voting for or against, India, because India is, as Prasad is saying, it's just a acronym. So why should it upset? And it's been part and parcel of, there is the Indian Union Muslim League, even the Communist parties call themselves as Indian, Bharatiya Janata Party. Bharatiya would mean Indian. It's everybody has a right to, but that doesn't mean it means ownership. What the Prime Minister has done, because he is very sure-footed, Sanket, about his popularity. He knows that whatever he can say, he would say he can get away with it. And his constituency, his followers, his political party, they all are going to, a section of media, they all are going to back it to the hilt. But what I'm saying is, as a citizen, I feel a little concerned and agitated. That why should it be, democracy is far more important than winning elections. But nobody is buying this kind of argument in today's polity. And that is why I'm saying it is unfortunate.
And the Manipur discussion, the point that the Congress party has now basically, you heard in the discussion also, say two things. Number one, attack on the opposition's alliance's name is an attack on the idea of India, and the BJP must apologize, right? That is narrative number one. And narrative number two is that the BJP would rather speak about the alliance and not speak about Manipur. So do you feel that this is going to perhaps give some political weightage or some traction to the opposition's argument?
See, Sanket, I think it is the discussion on Manipur, inevitable action in Manipur beyond this thing. I mean, whether dismissal of government, president rule, handing over army, these all are the options the government would have to, address at one point or another time. Delay is not a solution, but this is a political formulation. I think the opposition would go on because this is non-negotiable. They are not going to listen to the, the government voice or the other way around. So government has to find something on the ground. I think some kind of policy of planning may be there to, retrieve that situation which exists in Manipur today or for past 78 days. So this is a kind of war of attrition. We have seen it, happen many times in Parliament. But I'm not so much concerned whether the Parliament is debating or not. I want action on the ground in Manipur, and it should be visible. That's the priority.
Okay, Desh Ratan Nigam is a political analyst, is also joining us. Mr. Desh Ratan Nigam, in your opinion, do you feel, as some of the panelists here seem to be suggesting, this comment was perhaps not required by the Prime Minister, likening India, the alliance, and explaining in whatever context by suggesting that there was the East India Company also and the Indian Mujahideen also who had India in their name.
The fact is, Sanket, I do not call it India, I call it INDIA. But if you look at the corrupt people, the character, content and behavior, you will find similarity with East India Company. And Mr. Bommai was the first one to coin this term from Bangalore. So that kind of politics will continue. The kind of politics which, it's a competitive politics and people will try to score points over each other. And certainly, nobody should call it India because it has grave connotations and serious repercussions. India lost, India won. So this is not the kind of slugfest that we want to get into. And obviously, BJP will attack them. The kind of, people, if you look at some of cases of CBI or ED against Samajwadi Party, they were at the complaints of the Congress. And then Mamata Banerjee's also complaint against Congress and the Congress's complaints against Mamata Banerjee. Locally, they are opposing. So you see the kind of people on one side, corrupt versus honest. This is the kind of narrative which is now being perceived by people. You may call it by any name. By putting a fresh coat of paint will not change your face. Therefore, it clearly appears the character, content and behavior will continue to remain the same, which is going on.
Are you saying this in the context of in political winnability, that this is not going to necessarily fetch them great amount of traction resulting into votes? I'm assuming this is the point that you're making.
No, that certainly I believe that it's not going to fetch much votes for them because they should have an alternative vision in terms of policy.
Is this much like what happened to the Bharatiya Janata Party in the context of Karnataka, where Bajrang Dal miraculously became an assault on Bajrang Bali and it did not fetch votes for the BJP?
The fact is, if you analyze Karnataka, it was not the Bajrang Dal or Bajrang Bali. Whatever to the point, BJP retained its vote share almost. The Andhra, Karnataka was one of the regions where it lost badly because of the effect of the neighboring state where a lot of Christianization is going on. The Hindus of the Andhra probably were angry with BJP. You require a deep analysis there. It cannot be a superfluous of Bajrang Dal analysis out there.
Okay.
So yes, they have retained their vote share, which is very important.
Sure.
And it will go up during Lok Sabha elections.
Sure. Tushar Gupta wants to come in. Yes, Mr. Gupta.
Sanket, again, today they are saying that the Prime Minister's comment is an attack on India as an idea, as a sentiment, as an emotion. But then what happened when Rahul Gandhi went abroad and attacked the very idea of India when he said that India is not a country but a union of states? What happened to that emotion, the sentiment, when Rahul Gandhi said that democracy is dead in India and perhaps the foreign powers must take notice? Now, you also made a very interesting point, Sanket, that is the BJP trying to imply that there is this coalition that has come together is destructive in nature. My simple question is, what is constructive about its coalition? All day long, we have been asking one question to this coalition, that what is going to be a prime ministerial phase, the challenge to the prime minister. They talk about a minimum common program, What is constructive about a minimum common program for a country that's moving towards a 5 trillion economy? And how do you compare it with a stable government with the maximum majority which can usher in maximum reforms? If you ask me, there is nothing constructive about this alliance. And yet we are told that this represents India. It does not. So when the Prime Minister equates it just in the name, and the Congress confuses it for ideology, I think they are on the defensive. The Congress party here is on the defensive because they have nothing to offer in terms of what reforms they'll usher, what will be their idea of governance within this coalition, and probably in all probability, it will fall, it will crash, as the Mahagathbandhan did before the 2019 elections.
Okay, Neerja Chaudhary, would you like to come in? Because the original point of this likening of Indian Mujahideen and East India Company being a narrative to perhaps suggest that it's destructive was yours. So would you like to respond to what Tushar Gupta is saying?
Look, I want to make 2 points, Sanket, if I may, quickly.
Yes.
One is that what bothers me is this standoff between the two sides. One, the government says we'll allow 2.5 hours, and the opposition says no, unless Mr. Modi speaks, or you allow us more time, and more time should be allowed on a debate like this. We will not let the House function. Now, with this kind of standoff, as we, the citizens of India, are going to be deprived of a debate in Parliament cannot the way out be found. Whether, even suppose the government is absolutely obdurate and says we won't give in. Cannot the opposition put 3 strong, effective speakers in Parliament to put their case on Manipur within those 2.5 hours? Why should the House be a washout? Disruption is not meant to be the language of Parliament. And every session we've had this, and sometimes you feel the opposition is playing the government's game. The government doesn't want to answer questions. But the opposition must come out with what they have to say, rather than this din and Allah gulla and the House becoming a washout. This is very, very problematic, number one. Number two, I feel that, one of the reasons could be, as some people believe, that the reason why they don't want to discuss Manipur is because it's a calculation that Manipur doesn't resonate with the rest of India in electoral terms. It's not going to really matter. I think we can't forget that the northeast of India, which is a crucible of yellow and brown races, are gateway to the rest of Southeast Asia, and an area which had been turbulent for decades and of late has been relatively politically stable. Can we play politics with the northeast of India?
Wrong, absolutely
and
wrong.
What is going to be the implication for national security, for our plurality, for the message to tribals across India? I think both sides cannot play a short-term game.
Yeah, this squabbling over which rule, which discussion, one has to move beyond that.
It's a small thing. I think that there is resentment and bitterness between the two sides that they cannot find a way out. In the past, you heard Parliamentary Affairs Minister say, okay, you had your say, you made your noise, now let's find a way out and have Parliament, let Parliament function.
Okay,
So
I've completely run out of time, but very quickly, Mr. K.V. Prasad's closing comments.
Well, I think what's important, taking forward what Neerja ji has said, Parliament has always run on a spirit of accommodation, which means both the opposition and the government sit together and sort out the issue and take the discussion forward. Well, we have not seen that happening for the last few sessions. For whatever reasons, political standoff remains a standoff. In the end, we see bills being passed and then, which obviously does no good for the country. We need discussion and debate, we all agree. And I think the opposition should actually force a discussion in whatever form and fashion is coming, rather than filtering away the opportunity that's coming.
All right. Tushar Gupta, Neerja Chaudhary, Rashid Kidwai, Deshratan Nigam and K.V. Prasad, thank you very much for joining us. Stopping for a short break, but news continues on the other side. Stay tuned.